What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Tuesday Night Live here on the Serious Angler Network, powered by X2 Power. It's still really cool to say that. Today we have an awesome guest, John Garrett, who fished for the powerhouse of Bethel University, and we're going to be talking about his career here in the Bassmaster Opens and the race to try and qualify for the Elite Series. So a couple side notes here. My busy month of June is coming to a close of back-to-back guide trips on Lake Erie here in Buffalo. Have some open dates in July and August. And for everyone who's listening here, a little sidebar. We're thinking about adding some things into the podcast, like maybe like a bait of the week or a bait of the month. If you think that's a good idea, shoot us a message and let us know, or leave it down there in the comments as we're going along here. But Bailey is not joining us tonight. Surprise, surprise. He has been as busy as ever this month of June, working all over the place for his mainstay job with Gunpowder. And he is up on Lake Champlain right now, if I do believe. I haven't talked to him in like 4 days, I feel like. And he's up there with a bunch of the Berkeley Abu Garcia pure fishing pros and having a good time. But today's episode is going to be a lot of fun. So without further ado, let's get John in here and let's make sure we're sending him some questions over. So when we get to that point, he can answer them for us. So, hey, John, how's it going, man?
I'm good, Andrew. How are you, buddy?
Good. So got a nice little stretch coming up here, driving to New York. Whereabouts are you at right now living?
Yeah, I'm in Northwest Tennessee, Union City. I'm like 14 hours from Oneida, so that'd be a haul up there next week.
Well, good thing you have that awesome Ford truck that we're going to talk about here in a few. But how's your year going so far? Pretty good? Or I haven't caught up on like any of the standings. It's been hectic, but how's everything going?
I would say probably below average year for me. I've had two good events out of the halfway point of the season. I have a pretty good chance in the Northerns. I had a top 20 and on the James River, but so far through the Southerns and Centrals, it'd be pretty hard for me to make a comeback in those divisions.
Well, fingers crossed, and hopefully you can turn it around. And maybe, who knows, because, I mean, we'll dive into this a little bit more, but you've been close in the Southerns and Central Opens before, right, to get that blue trophy. So we'll talk about that here shortly. But as we're getting started, let's digress a little bit and let's talk about your intro into fishing. Who got you into it and how did you become hooked?
Well, really, my whole family was kind of geared around the outdoor industry. My family owned a marina here in town, Union City Marine, and my granddad and dad worked there. So from the get-go, I was around bass boats, duck hunting boats and water. So really, my granddad got me into fishing. We'd go every weekend. He's off work and after school and whatnot. So, my one that got me into it.
That's awesome. So is he the one that you fished your first bass tournament with?
Actually, I didn't fish a bass tournament. He got me into a bass club. He was a part of the Reelfoot Lake Bass Club. They opened up a junior side of that from like ages 8 to 16. So he made me wait till I was 8 years old to fish my first bass tournament. So that was my first bass tournament, was in a junior bass club when I was 8. So,
and you've been hooked ever since, I'm assuming.
Sure have, yeah.
So what would you consider is your home lake there in Western Tennessee?
So I live on Reelfoot Lake, but there's no big tournaments or anything like that there. So my home bodies of water are more Kentucky Lake and Pickwick.
Gotcha. Do you think Kentucky Lake is slowly making a comeback? Every time I see pictures, it seems like people are catching more smallmouth than largemouth.
Yeah, I would say it's inching along. If I had to guess, in 5, 7 to 10 years, I think it'd be a pretty good fishery. It's like every year we see that much improvement. But yeah, the smallmouth have really thrived with the new bait fish, Asian carp. Smallmouth can suspend to chase those things just a little bit larger or better than largemouth can. So
that's awesome. So has that lake, I was talking to somebody, I think like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, pre-COVID, he was talking about, because he brought the bass tank up here for the fishing show we have, and our fishing shows are tiny compared to some of the ones down south. But he was telling me that Kentucky Lake is a lot clearer than it usis to be as well. Is there any truth to that, or?
It seems to be in the fall, but no, in spring, summer, and winter, it's pretty dirty. And in the
Gotcha.
fall, been having less current seems like than on record year, on normal years. So
Yeah.
in the fall, we get pretty clean water.
Gotcha. So that, and then Pickwick as well. We all know about Pickwick and what that produces, right?
Yep.
Some you can catch giant smallmouth, largemouth, some spots. So let's digress here and jump back into that first bass tournament. 8 years old. What were your thoughts, if you can remember them, going into that tournament and then walking away from it?
Yeah, so I do remember it. I remember like yesterday. So we actually fished a small watershed lake, and I was using a rhino button reel, is red and black.
Oh,
And
perfect.
my my granddad was big on the culprit red shad worms, and he was like, "Pick this up, throw it, don't put it down." And I caught one. I caught a 312. It was the biggest fish of the tournament. It was the only fish I caught, and I got so excited when I caught that fish. And I was in a younger age group, fishing the back of the boat, older fish in the front, and yeah, I loved it. I sure did. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it moves you into the next segment here, and that's college fishing, right? So let's talk about like when you were getting ready to go to Bethel to fish college. Was there high school fishing already at that point,
So
or was it like relatively fresh?
it was very fresh. My freshman year, there's a few teams in Tennessee, few schools in Tennessee have started that up. My sophomore year, me and a couple buddies, we like to fish together. We started the high school club, the O'Brien County Central High School Club, and we traveled around fishing, state tournaments and whatnot. But it wasn't near to the extent it is now. But yeah, there was just the high school stuff was just starting up.
Yeah. What was there like? I don't know if you looked at, but there was a high school national championship at Pickwick. I think this past weekend there was 420 something
Yep,
boats, I think.
sure
Like,
was, and we fished my senior year. We fished a regional, and that was Alabama, Tennessee, all of our region fished on Wheeler Lake,
mhm.
and the top 10 qualified for the first ever Bassmaster High School Classic. So that was like how early on I was, and I was at the kind of the first steps of the Bassmaster stuff in high school.
That's awesome. So then through high school, obviously you loved fishing so much that you wanted to pursue like a college fishing deal. And Bethel is like at the time was like the powerhouse, and it still is, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, it is.
So what made you choose Bethel University? Or were you like recruited to go there? Because I have no idea how that truly works. Some colleges can recruit, some can't. Like it's crazy, the world of
Yeah.
bass fishing in college.
Bethel kind of came to. I mean, it was kind of just fell in my lap when I was in high school. Back then, they had the college fishing shows, Bassmaster shows that come on every week.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching those with my granddad, and some of the original Bethel guys, Zach Parker, Dewey Swims, Randall, some of those original guys were weighing in huge bags of fish, and I'm like, I don't think I can catch 25 pounds a day like these guys are, But Bethel's pretty close to me, and I was working at my granddad's marina one day, and the assistant coach at Bethel, kind of popped in one day and just kind of gave me a visit. Before then, college wasn't really a thought in my brain. They were like, hey, we want you here. We, give you a scholarship to come here. And that was kind of my first really even thought about going to college, to be honest with you.
So what was the plan before college? Were you going to go like trade school? Or were you just going to try to go pro? Like,
yeah, I'd always wanted to do the fishing aspect of it. My thought process where I was going to work in my granddad's marina, spring, summer, and fall. And I run a duck hunting guide business in the winter. So I was going to do that during the winter and hopefully eventually build up enough money to get a boat, whatnot, start fishing a little bit more than that.
awesome. So like, let's talk about your college career. Obviously, people have followed you probably extensively to this point since you were the youngest angler to ever qualify in the collegiate program for the Bassmaster Classic. So let's talk about real quick that year leading up to that. So like, and what was the euphoria like when you actually did qualify? Was it like shock and you couldn't believe it, or did you actually know that you were going to do it going into that qualification tournament?
Yeah, so that year was kind of crazy. I was a freshman in college. Me and my partner Brian, and kind of a little backstory here. Our very first college tournament ever, first day we zeroed, and we're like, "Oh gosh, this is how this is going to be." You know what I mean? And then we qualified for the national championship at Oklahoma in the wild card. So we kind of sucked all year, qualified through the wild card, and that's when they released the national championship and the bracket. And the bracket was going to be on Kentucky Lake. And I was like, I need to take advantage of this. This is probably my opportunity to possibly shine here. So I went to Green River and spent a bunch of pre-practice marking brush piles, fishing offshore. We came in second there, lost by like 4 ounces. And then when the bracket came to Kentucky Lake, it was during a 300 boat high school tournament. Lake was tough as nails, and I kind of had a pretty good idea that had a chance to do well there.
Awesome. So then that's how you qualified for the 2017 Classic at Conroe. Obviously, was for Kentucky Lake.
Yes, correct. Yep.
So let's dive into that. I know the Classic. I went my first time this year just to the expo and stuff. How was it being on the other side of the stage, like from start to finish? Like you qualified, and kind of run us through the entire deal here, because it's a huge deal from what I saw while being there.
Yeah, it is. And from the moment I qualified, I had people that kind of been there before, fished the Classic before, and their biggest advice to me was take it all in, enjoy every minute you can. Of course, you're going to be stressed, but do what you can on the water, but don't get overly stressed about it. Just mainly enjoy your time there. And that's kind of what I did. I practiced hard as I could, fished hard as I could in the tournament. But for some reason, I wasn't like stressed out like I am in some of these opens. Like I have these fish. So I really did kind of step back and enjoy it. I would say probably a little more than some of the other guys there did. It was pretty awesome. And then going through it, while I was there, I'm like, yeah, this is a good time. But after the tournament, the next year I was at the Classic, I'm like, man, that's where I want to be back at. I don't want to miss it. If I can never miss another one of these again, that's the goal. So,
yeah. And I mean, you've been pretty close now here a couple times to making it through the opens. So, like, seeing Jordan Lee drop that giant bag on day 3, right? Sitting on that spot, like being on, because you're probably in the backside of everything at that point. You could kind of see what was going on. What was that like? Like just the fireworks.
Yeah, that was crazy. So, stars kind of aligned. He clearly already had that spot, but he broke down, caught a big one, caught another big one, whatever, and then it's all of a sudden he's on this monster bag, like you're saying. And of course, me coming through the college ranks, he coming through the college ranks. I was fired up about that, and just kind of seeing him, win, kind of gave, I would say, the whole college fishing industry, everybody involved in that. I was like, oh wow, this is happening. It kind of opens a lot of eyes for collegiate as well.
Yeah, it like exploded like the reach that college fishing had, because after that point I feel like college fishing just like exploded. Like every team has like a powerhouse team, like a 2 tandem team, partner team all across the country. It seems like anybody now at any college tournament can win an event. And it used to be just like 5 to 10 teams and be like, okay, that pairing's going to win, or this pairing.
Yeah, I feel like what he did at Conroe kind of, like you said, exploded or just magnified college fishing even more than it was, for sure.
Yeah. So going to college then, like, obviously it was a great idea to take Bethel up on the opportunity to go, because, I mean, how much of your career now can you basically credit to fishing the college ranks, right? So
I would
it's
say
probably
every
helped.
bit.
Yeah.
I would say almost every bit of it. From the success that Brian and I had through college, kind of after our freshman year, we had a really good collegiate career, and really just got me like more in depth of knowledge of how the industry works. Made a ton of connections because not only the people that were already working in the fishing industry, people that were fishing college when I was there are now working in the fishing industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say college fishing has opened up nearly every door that I have going on right now.
That's an incredible thing just to witness because, like, it gives people hope that the college side can actually benefit you then rather just having a giant student loan payment. So,
Yeah, that's correct. And you know, fishing for Bethel, we we had a really good team, made some great friends, and not only the people that went to Bethel, I got guys from Texas and Florida, Michigan that fished for Adrian College. Like I made so many friends that are just spattered all over the country, and I could pick my phone up and call somebody, and if I needed to, you know what I mean. So I mean,
yeah.
it is definitely it was I wouldn't trade it for sure. I would do it all over again.
Now, when you qualified for the classic, and I mean, obviously, I don't think you. And I'm not saying this in a mean way. It wasn't the best showing that you could have had at the first classic, right? I think you finished like 40th or
Yeah,
33rd or something like that. But you you got the $10,000 payday from that, if I remember correctly, and then this ever burning desire probably to go pro even more because of the fact you got to witness it from behind the stage, and then the next year on the opposite side, and it probably hurt to be on the opposite side after walking across.
yeah, it does for sure. And after it was all over, I came in. I only beat 12 people there. My wife had after that. I was kind of disappointed in my finish. Glad to be there. I was like, better than that. Gerald Swindle was the angler of the year before. He gave the Night of Champions speech. My wife just kept bringing up, well, you beat Gerald Swindle. You beat Gerald Swindle. And now, at the time, it didn't mean nothing to me. But after that, I was like, well, I beat 12 of those guys. That's what they do for a living.
Yeah.
And it gave me a little, I guess you say, motivation and hope in myself to kind of keep pushing forward and saying, hey, it's a realistic chance if you just keep on trying. So,
Yeah. And every year you're going to constantly grow because you're going to learn more and hopefully be able to apply different things with the knowledge that you have learned. And I mean, some people get lucky and qualified right off the bat, right? Right for the Elite Series.
yeah.
But from what it seems to me is the guys that take a while, not like forever, but a while to get there, they tend to have more success once they get to the Elite Series. At least that's what it seems like because you already have all these valuable experiences from all these lakes that they go to every year. So you're more set up for the future than you are in the present.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Yeah.
So, kind of hopping here now. So you've got through your collegiate career, you make the jump into the opens. How did fishing college tournaments help prep you to make that jump into like the pro side of the boat and to dive right into the opens?
I would say that honestly, towards the end of my collegiate fishing career, the college fishing tournaments, some people might, look, not agree with this. There are nearly the same amount of competition and challenges as the opens are right now. We have 300 boats, um, crowded lakes, great fishermen, and that's the same stuff we're facing with in the open. So when I jumped from my last year at Bethel to my first year of the opens, I was very surprised on how similar those tournaments were.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I could kind of correlate that still today. In college, if I got onto something, had a decent practice, it usually resulted in a decent tournament. And it's the same way for me in the opens now. So, it really shocked me of how competitive the collegiate fishing was. I mean, it's definitely there now, but even what it transformed towards the end of my career onto, based on what the opens are like now. So,
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to think like how many teams show up for those bigger tournaments and you can correct me here if I'm wrong, but not a lot of the collegiate tournaments too. A lot of them are on smaller, like lesser known lakes than the big ones, right?
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
So like 300 boats on Gunnersville might be all right, but 300 boats on like a Lay Lake might be a little
Yeah.
tight.
Yeah. Sure.
Just
What we, and that's what we face most of the time because
yeah,
um, more times than not, we were following an event. So there would be an event on a big body of water, and our event would be next door to a smaller body of water. So
yeah. Ooh, fun. Nothing
yeah,
like bumper boats on a half-size lake than what the big guys are fishing with a third of the field.
yeah, yeah.
It's like,
That's
why
right.
can't we switch places? Like, why can't we switch lakes, right?
Yeah.
So before we dive into like really dive into the opens and everything, I kind of want to talk about a unique like partnership sponsorship you have, and that's with Ford. So kind
Yep.
of dive into like how that all came about and talk about your tow vehicle as well, because it's one of those hybrid F-150s, right? The Lariat hybrid version.
Yes.
So
Yep.
kind of dive into like how the whole thing came about and why you think that that Ford F-150 is kind of going to change the game for guys as more like regulations come out and we have to go to more
Yep.
electrical vehicle types. How does it like tow your boat? Just kind of dive right in and
Okay.
tell everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started 2 years ago. I partnered with Hypertech, and they are a truck programming company, vehicle programming company. Um, just help you get better gas mileage, better horsepower, whatnot. And that kind of got me into the automotive side of
Hmm.
things. When before then I was focused in the fishing industry, and when I got on the automotive side, I was like, I'm going to try to step my foot into this door, give people an opportunity to branch out farther with some of their advertisement stuff. And hate to put it this way, but I got pretty lucky on the Ford sponsorship, working with corporate there. And, so they seen opportunity with me to be like, hey, we have this guy willing to, promote us on basically a tour or a industry that's based off a one truck deal.
Yeah.
Because Toyota kind of has their name stamped on the fishing industry.
Yeah.
They're like, this might be an opportunity for us. We're going to put him into something totally different that these guys don't have. And that's when we worked on the my fishing rig, my truck there, and it's a Ford Lariat hybrid. And I get asked all the time about the electric side of it, gas side of it, and whatnot. So basically, starting from the beginning of the truck, um, what's really great about it is it's electric and it's gas. So if I hook my boat up, head to Oneida, like I am Friday or Saturday morning, I'll be able to travel towing my boat in electric mode, and just to kind of depending on how fast I'm going, how hard I'm pulling, my truck will pull it, up to probably 30, 40 minutes in electric mode, and then it kicks over to gas. And then the alternator charges my battery back up. And when my battery gets, safe enough to run on electric mode again, it kicks me back over to electric mode. So I don't have to plug my truck in. I'm running somewhere, 30% of my trip, I'm in electric mode. And if I unhook my boat, I would say close to 50% of my time I'm in electric mode. So it saves a ton on me. It's so hard to put a number on how much gas I save, because when I'm pulling my boat in gas mode, I'm getting, I would say, better than average fuel economy pulling my truck in gas mode. And then when it kicks over to electric mode, I'm essentially getting 100 miles a gallon, or
Yeah.
however you want to put a number on that. But it's just so nice for me to make less gas stops. And man, it's so powerful. It's a twin turbo V6. So I mean, it's just so easy pulling my truck or pulling my boat around. It's all the way around. It's the best truck I've been in, and it's helped me out greatly, especially $5 a gallon gas we got right now. So
Oh, wait till you get to New York. It's the same.
yeah,
Like our gas actually like just started going down a little bit. The local gas station here, I think right now is like 4.65 5, I believe. Like, so I don't know what it is over like central New York, eastern New York. Oneida is about 2.5 hours from my house, roughly.
Gotcha.
But yeah, gas stinks. Like, I wish I had a hybrid truck right now, because I have the 2020 Ford F-150, but I got the old V8 in it, and it's an amazing tow vehicle. But when I drive 100 miles towing my boat, it's not fun.
Yeah. So I was in a Ford Lariat. I was in a Ford F-150 up until this point too. So it's nice. I got this same vehicle. I got a better vehicle. It's almost exactly the same, but getting 10 times the gas mileage basically. So something cool about that truck that I've had a lot of questions about, and I've helped a lot of people out, is it has a built-in onboard generator. So all the time as us fishermen, we're blowing circuit boards and breakers at hotel rooms. So I charge my boat with my truck every night. I don't even plug in the hotel anymore.
Oh, interesting.
Pretty cool deal. Yeah.
So the battery has enough ampage and power to charge your boat successfully through the night and then still start in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. So my truck would be on essentially all night. But without me driving at all, it's in electric mode for hours on end. And then my truck will start up and run 15 minutes, charge the battery back up, and, give the power it needs to the generator to charge my boat. So.
And you luckily to this point haven't had any battery issues in your truck, right?
I have not had a single battery issue. Haven't had a jump start it. And I mean,
That's
far
incredible. Yeah. Now, is this your first year running that electric truck? So like to the tours and stuff?
Yes, awesome. It is. Yeah. I'm in a 2021, and that's the first one of the originals that they come out with. So this is their first full year of selling that hybrid.
Awesome. Do you think you'll leave it, or do you think you'll stay with the hybrid going forward?
I'm probably going to stay with the hybrid going forward, unless they kind of push me in a different direction. But if I had to pick so far, I'd be in that, just because of basically how much money I save on the road.
Yeah. They're like, hey, John, we're going to give you this Ford Raptor hybrid. Could you imagine that one? That'd be a cool little tow vehicle. Not much storage space, but it'd be an awesome tow vehicle.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, is the tow rating different on this truck than like a normal F-150? Because
it's actually more. I can't give you the exact specs on it, but it's between like 7 and 10% more tow rating on that than the previous F-150 Lariat. So.
And is that because of like the electrical current? When the motor's in electric mode, it tends to produce more torque. Is that why?
No, it's because the twin turbo.
Gotcha.
Yep, exactly.
Fair enough. I thought that was a good question. Just because, like, with Tesla and stuff, but they're all electric vehicles with the trucks they have coming out. I've read things that they have like this insane amount of tow capacity just because with the electric vehicle, the rear differential has more torque to it, so therefore it's able to pull more weight. And I'm like, I wonder if that's the same reason with the hybrid vehicles, that there's when it's in that electrical mode, it produces more torque. So that's a cool point. So Mr. Higgs does have a quick question here for you. He wants to know if you have a timetable to make it to the elites by any chance, or is there just when it happens type deal?
Yeah, I would say there's a timetable, because just on myself financially, I'm fishing against 225 guys, cutting teeth to cut a $4,000 check-in cents. So if I don't get a top 5 finish every year, you're not making any money. I'm probably gonna give myself 2 or 3 more years, and that's when I'm going to have to probably make some kind of business decision on my own, whether it's jumping to a different league or something else. So
yeah, it's crazy how intense the competition is in the opens. I remember, I think like 4 or 5 years ago, some of the events they couldn't even like fill all the way, but now gas prices are $5 a gallon. Inflation is like 700%, and everyone's like, I'm just gonna fish bass tournaments.
Yeah, now there's 100 people on the wait list.
Yeah, which is just, it's astronomical to me. I want to know where these guys are getting the money and if they can spread the wealth.
Yeah.
That is my question. But But so let's dive into the opens here. So the main topic of the show, right, is the difference between chasing a blue trophy or being consistent in the opens. And you've been close to getting the blue trophy once in 2020 and once in 2021, and we'll get
Yep.
there in a moment. But when it comes to the opens, being consistent is key. But how do you prepare for a tournament that you think you can win as opposed to cashing a check and surviving?
Yeah, so I struggle. I still struggle with this personally because I have a mindset of my mindset changes tournament to tournament almost. So there's been so many times where, let's say Ross Barnett was our last tournament. I came in with this mindset. I'm going to try to figure something out off the wall, middle of the lake. No one else is going to be on it. I'm going to look for a winning spot, a winning pattern. And I focused on that the 3 days I was there. Did not find any kind of consistent bite. It's not what I was looking for. And it bit me. And sometimes I go in a tournament like, look, I'm looking to find a consistent bite. I'm looking to cash a check, survive this tournament. And sometimes you still don't find it. So, I mean, um, the times that I've got close to winning and I've had good tournaments, a lot of times I've had that mindset of I'm going to come in here and I'm going to try to win this tournament versus I'm going to come in here and try to squeak by with a 30th place finish. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think Polnick basically had a quote out there, and you can't quote me. I might misquote him correctly, but he said that if he doesn't feel like he can win, then he will never have a shot at winning a tournament. So
That,
like I think he practices every tournament like he wants to win.
yeah. Yeah. And, he's leading AOY right now. So
Yeah.
good chance to win every tournament. And I, it really has hurt me in the opens this year because I've had that mindset and I haven't taken the time during my practice. But hey, let me find a way to even get some bites. Let me find a way to get a handful of bites, even if they're 2 pound bites. Even if it's just a decent limit to give me some points. I mean, it's something I struggle with. I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with, and there is a difference on what you're looking for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, how do you so when you're like practicing, right? Like we'll circle back. It was what 2021 where you almost won Pickwick. It was what
Yep.
second or third place you
Yep.
finished. So like what if you can reflect on that tournament now, that open, what did you find? And not giving away like any
Yeah.
spots or anything, right? Like what did you find to know that you were able to possibly have a shot to win that tournament and to go out and swing for it?
Yeah. So I kind of have a feel for what goes on the Tennessee River,
Yeah.
kind of by day, but there was a huge shad spawn going on, and I knew there's going to be a lot of people that do good the first 30 minutes to hour and a half of the tournament on shad spawn. It's really hard to win a tournament doing that. So I spent my whole practice getting in those areas that those fish, that shad spawn bite was going on, and I was learning what that bait fish did after the shad spawn and where those bass went after they got done with that shad spawn bite. And I fished I practiced for like 6 days and I found 2 spots. There were middle of a flat surrounded by shallow water that those fish were, those shad were spawning and they would kind of drop off and vacate. But you look for something just so off the wall, no one's going to find it. You're targeting a bigger class of fish. And I found those spots and I knew I was like, I have these 2 spots. I have to play them right. With 250 boats on there, it was hard. Like I went the first day, it was 1 o'clock before I even felt comfortable fishing one of those spots because there were so many boats around. And ultimately, I think I lost that tournament not because of fish I lost, but because other competitors seen me fishing these spots, and when I would leave, they would pull in. So it's really, you know, finding a winning deal is you're looking completely off the wall, middle of flats. You're just looking in a place that no one else will look, and you're looking for the needle in a haystack. You're finding a place that has fish that really shouldn't have fish.
Yeah. And it's like, here's my main lake point, but here's this little flat that comes off of it 200 yards away. Now you have that little diamond in the rough that takes you 17 hours to graph just to find.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And that is a tough pattern to
Yep.
chase, and I commend you for that, because you know what I would be doing? I would be up shallow or just looking on main stuff and be like, I just need to catch fish.
Yeah.
Because the way I look at it is, and this is just me personally thinking out loud, like Bailey, if he was here, he would say, I love your strategy. He does exactly the same thing you do, John. He goes and looks for the off the wall stuff. Me personally, I have the exact opposite mindset, that I'm like, you know what? They call it a community hole for a reason. I'm going to try to find my own little stuff near that community hole that those bigger fish might be. I'm not like, I probably should be more afraid to fish around people than I am. And this is because of limited tournament experience. I guide most of my days now. So it's like fishing in a crowd never bothers me anymore.
Yeah.
Even in a tournament situation. So that's kind of cool to hear that you back up Bailey's belief of finding a needle in a haystack, because that is a heck of a hard pattern to follow.
It's so basically, way our fishing is now, it's so competitive. There's so many people. It has more become a spot oriented tournament style instead of a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
You got a whole lake. When someone wins a tournament, they usually win off one or two spots. It's very rare to see someone. Let's like kind of jump back to when Bill Lowen won the Pickwick tournament.
Mm-hmm.
He won it old school, flipping the bank, that kind of deal. It doesn't happen a lot. Most now tournaments are won off just one or two very special spots, and those people kind of went through that process to find them. And a lot of times when you're chasing that spot, sometimes you strike gold in practice. You find fish where there's not supposed to be fish, but man, they be gone. They could be gone like that because there's nothing there for them to hold on. So
yeah. Sounds like smallmouth to me.
Yep.
Like even Great Lakes smallmouth, like, and I'm sure you've experienced this a little bit fishing the opens. They'll be there one day, and then next day you go back 6 a.m. and you find them at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're like, that's my starting spot. I know it. And you pull up and it's ghost town. And you're like, oh crap, what do I do now? And then I was talking to my buddy who fishes the opens as well, and he's like, yeah, I had this school last year. He did really well at the St. Lawrence. He goes, yeah, I had this school day one. They were completely gone. And day two, I showed up at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon just to check it because I still didn't have anything really. And he goes, they were there again. And I'm like, smallmouth. That's all I can say. But it sounds like down south on like ledge fisheries, it's kind of the same deal on like, they'll just kind of be like out in the middle of the abyss, and then they'll pull up in the main structure. And then when they get pressured, they just kind of vanish again. Type deal.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's getting worse and worse. If you have a place that don't get pressured, they'll sit on that spot for 2 months. And if you got a place that people know about, they'll be there 1 minute, and 30 minutes later they'll be 200 yards away. So I mean, fish are adapting to us for sure.
Especially when there's 15 boats sitting on them with 360 and live scope pinging their ears away in their lateral lines. I can't imagine what that has to do for fish. And if I had to like compare it, it'd probably feel like being stuck on a waterboard for like 7 hours with just a drip of water hitting you on the head. That would drive me nuts. I wouldn't want to eat. So you have Oneida coming up. You probably have plenty of experience at Oneida here recently, correct? So
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what do you expect coming up there the weekend after 4th of July?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what I'm hoping for.
I like that.
Yeah. So I've had a couple top tens there in the past in the opens, but this was before gobies got in the lake. Yeah. I'm hoping for a perch fry bite because the past couple times we've been, it's been a goby bite, more related to rocks, and there's just not enough there ain't enough rock piles, rocky stretches on that lake for there to be 250 boats out there. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping there's a perch bite. I'm hoping that we could catch them in the grass and it kind of spreads everybody out a little bit and gives you more of a chance to find something to yourself,
I'm going to send you a message real fast that my buddy sent me who lives on Oneida Lake.
Okay.
Just so check your DMs here in a little bit because I'll keep this between you and I. Sorry, people, for listening, but as soon as you said that, it triggered something, so I
Yeah.
wanted to send it
Yeah.
to you real fast. But yeah, I mean, Oneida Lake has been funky because a lot of times, and like you're allowed to talk about it, right? I just want to clarify that. So a lot of times in like late July and August, and it's 2.5 hours away from me, so I don't get there a ton. But they always have like a year of the young hatch, which is those perch fry. You have the baitfish fry, year of the young walleye, smallmouth, largemouth, and everything else. It's such a fertile lake that they start eating things that are like this big and they become almost impossible to catch. The other thing that goes on this time of year and people overlook is a giant mayfly hatch. And I know that is going on right now. So, but Oneida Lake has been down the last few years in fish size and population. I hope, based on what I've seen so far this year, I hope that it goes off for the opens again.
I would agree with that because although it's a small place, when we were there in 2016 and 2017, it really went off. It took 16, 17 pounds a day to even get paid or do well there. So it's a good fishery when it shows out.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because you guys aren't going in like August or September this year. You're going earlier on. So my fingers are crossed that those smallmouth actually want to eat.
Yeah.
And
so too. Yeah. And I gotta come out with probably 2 top 15 finishes and my next 2 northerns to kind of keep my elite chase alive. So I'm looking to get a top 10 there, hopefully.
Because it's what, Oneida, and then is it the Potomac or the Chesapeake?
Chesapeake, yep.
So any experience on the Chesapeake?
Never been on the Chesapeake. I like tidal waters, like I like the Potomac, I like the James, but I like to run the tide, and I don't really know how far I can push that on the Chesapeake. I haven't been there before, so it's going to be a different deal for sure. So,
do you plan on like hitting it up on the way home from Oneida just to scope it out before going back, or is it a little bit too far out of the way?
Oh, it just kind of depends on how Oneida goes. If Oneida goes good and I got a lot of pep and energy in me, probably stop by and check it out. Yeah.
I understand those feelings for sure. So, and then the rest of the opens, there's 2 Southerns already done, right? And 1 Central?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So what do you have left on the docket there for opens in the Southerns and Centrals?
We have Rayburn, Red River, Oneida, Chesapeake, and one more. I can't think of. Hartwell. We have Hartwell.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So out of all of them, which 2 would you say you're looking forward to the most, and then which one? I have a feeling I know which one you're going to say. Are you looking forward to the least?
Yeah. So I like Oneida, and I like Hartwell. I've been to Hartwell a few times. I like chasing spotted bass, and I like upward feeding fish, and that's kind of what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that perch fry bite happens at Oneida because I'm hoping to draw fish up instead of get down with them. So
yeah, there's gobies have changed the dynamic of a lot of our inland lakes because they're finally starting to get into a few of them, and yeah, goby eaters are weird, but they take a long time for them to adjust to them.
Yeah.
So, but boy, do they make smallies fat and big and lazy.
They
so, what I've noticed on like, I live in Buffalo, John. What I've noticed is that our fish, where there's a giant goby population in structure, they don't move nearly as much.
Yeah.
Like they become way less pelagic. They become basically like butterball turkeys. They just sit on the bottom and they have a free meal. Why did they have to look up and chase?
Yep, that's right.
But when you get mayflies and perch young and shad young, they have to feed up because they're always going to be genetically coded to eat those fish,
Yep.
eat the bait fish. So I hope that works out for you. I hope I hear about a topwater bite on Oneida or something similar, because
Yep.
that place used to be historically famous for like the insane topwater footage that
Yep.
Lake had.
The
So
first time I was there, I got a top 10 and I caught them all on top water, and that was fun. Yeah.
talk about frightening but exciting all at the
Yeah.
same time.
That's right.
Smallies and treble hooks do not mix one bit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's a certain time of year here where I get on like a speed crank bite, and every time I set the hook, I'm like, don't come off, don't come off, don't come off.
Yeah.
I feel the same way when they blow up on a giant spook. So
Yeah.
the one that you're looking forward to the least, even though you can't really say that because they're
Yeah.
all tournaments, you look forward to them all. I'm going to go out on a whim here and say it's the Red River.
Yeah, that is exactly right. So I have been there one time before. We had a college championship there. It wasn't even in the fall. It was kind of in the just right after the spawn. Typically should have been better. It was awful, and I heard it's worse now than it was then.
Great.
That's great. I've been looking at some tournament results from that time frame. 10 pounds a bag. So
sounds like the Ohio River to me.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's going to be a. If I get out of there with some fish and a lower unit, I'll be a happy camper. Yeah.
Awesome. So would you say in your fishing style, are you more of like a power fisherman, you got to go out and catch them, or are you a grinder, like grinder got to grind on the Red River type deal?
Yeah. So I I have done well in both. For some reason, those tough tournaments where I could pick a flipping stick up and just flip for 8 hours, I've done well in those. And I've done well here and there in slugfest tournaments, kind of like we've had at Oneida, Pickwick, stuff like that, where I can find something off the wall. I feel more comfortable fishing when I know the fish are biting and there's a lot of fish around. It gives me more confidence to find something that someone else isn't going to. I have more confidence that I have a chance of finding an off the wall spot for second wood, finding something off the wall at the Red River. So yeah, I would say that I've had a mix of success in both. I would say.
So, I mean, the one thing that's nice about flipping tournaments, right, is when you hook one, the chance of it coming off are slim to none unless it's
Yep.
in a pitch that you probably should have never made, and that's when the giant bites. And
That's
you're just like 13 feet back in bushes, and you're like, how the hell do I get him out of here now?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, there's something about like hand-to-hand combat with a big flipping stick. The hook up, the land ratio is just incredible in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but anything else going on here in the near future besides the opens that you want to talk about, or?
I'll be honest with you. Right now, my life is circling around the opens and duck season. That's pretty much my life has been the past couple of years. I've heard a few things floating around about some changes to the opens. Been sworn to secrecy not to say anything. But I'm looking forward to what the opens has to offer in the upcoming years.
Yeah.
Changes of, maybe places, maybe how some things are going to be taken into consideration. So right now you could bet to see me fishing the opens for, I'll say at least 2 more years is what I'm going to probably limit myself to. So.
Awesome. And at the beginning of the show, you said you were a duck hunting guide. So if somebody on here is listening and they want to go duck hunting with John Garrett, how do they go about finding you so they can book a trip if your calendar is open?
Yeah, so you can go to my Facebook page at John Garrett Outdoors, shoot me a message, or find me on Instagram, John Garrett Fishing, and shoot me a message on there.
Awesome. I'm not much of a duck hunter, but I hope somebody from listening to this podcast actually books a trip with you. That'd be quite awesome. So
yeah,
fingers crossed. Support a dream. Fishing is expensive, especially with the cost of lures and gas and everything going up. So yeah, give us a fighting chance.
Yeah.
So, Before we let you go here, John, I appreciate your time and taking it out here.
Oh
We
yeah.
got just under an hour, but since you're a listener, I'm sure you know the question that is coming. This is Bailey's baby and brainchild.
Okay.
I hope you didn't prep for it. If you do you know what question it is? All
No.
right, I am surprised. Oh, real quick, Justin Barry says off topic. How many turkeys did you kill or call in this year?
How many did I kill or call in this year? I seen 5 turkeys die this year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thanks for the question, Justin. I apologize. So like completely ADHD that and suck it
Yeah.
right in. And then Jim here also says, great to hear whispers on opens changes. I'll actually be a second to that voice. I've heard some too from
Yep.
friends that are fishing the opens. And from what I'm hearing, it sounds awesome.
Yep.
So let's hope it actually pans out because um as all sports, and this will be like a side tangent here, change can be sometimes really good. And in a sport where there's constantly evolvement in leagues evolving and growing and new leagues coming up and leagues dying, sometimes you need good change to be sustainable. So
Yeah.
let's hope that change is a good sustainability move for bass so they can continue their run as king, in my personal opinion.
I would agree.
So, but back to the final last question we
Okay.
have here, John. So if you could sit down, if you drink beer, iced tea, because we know down south they love their sweet tea in Tennessee, South Carolina area, and have a steak, who are the 3 people you would invite to your steak dinner with beer, sweet tea, and why? They can come from any time in history, like before Christ, after death, present. It could be historical sports. It could be family members. Who would those 3 people be, and why?
Oh my gosh.
Loaded.
Load. That is a big question. I'm going to keep this simple in the fishing industry. Okay.
Like it. I like it.
I have always liked my time and experience with Mark Zona. I'm going to put Mark Zona on the table. I
Love it.
would probably put who else? I feel like it'd be a fun table. I feel like I would probably want. I've been around Iaconelli a few times. He was a hoot to say the least. I'd probably put him on there. And the third person, man, this is hard to put a pin on this. I'm going to put Mark Menendez on seat number 3. I'll have 2 people. It's going to be a great time, and I'll have a very realistic, honest person on the table with me.
Yeah.
So, kind of maybe to neutral things out, I would say.
So, speaking of Mark Menendez on here, didn't they change like the Elite Series rule for him on, was it like Ross Barnett or something, where he like took his little aluminum dinghy boat and got underneath like a bridge and way
Yeah.
upstream where
Yep.
no one else could be? And
Yeah.
then,
He took another Yamaha boat, a G3, got in somewhere where no one else could, and they decided after that tournament or after that year, you have to stay in the boat you fish in all year. So yeah,
yeah.
he was the reasoning behind that. So
Well, it's interesting though, because I remember when the Elite Series came to Buffalo in 2006 and 2007, a lot of the guys came in like, if I remember correctly, a lot of them came in like unwrapped deep V boats. It's like they picked them up off the lot just
yeah,
for that tournament on Lake Erie. And then they went to like Oneida or Champlain afterwards, and they would be in their bass boat again like a week later. I'm like, man, to live in a time in 2008 when gas was $2.90 a gallon and we thought we were going to explode then. Like, imagine people being able to do that today. How
yep,
could you even afford 2 boats?
yep,
But yeah, that sounds like a party. Like, you're going to get Rockstar Zona, the most truthful person in probably bass fishing, and Mark Menendez, and then
yep,
Iaconelli, who's just going to scream every time he talks about a big one.
yep.
So that
And there might be some other names that maybe I should have picked or something like that. That's what come to my head. So
yeah.
that's you got. So
No, I think those are three very solid choices. I would love to sit down in Zona and have like a steak and a beer with him because I feel like he would have endless stories.
yeah,
Even on like Bass Live, the guy just goes on like random tangents about something, and you're just like,
yeah,
where did that come from? Left
yeah,
field. Like, geez.
yeah,
So, but no, I want to say thank you for tuning in here and everyone. And John, thanks for taking out the hour of your night on this Tuesday while you should be getting ready for packing and heading up
yep,
here to the North Country where the fish are plentiful usually and
yep.
smallmouth are crazy. So, it, just real quick before you go, how spoiled do you feel whenever you come to New York and then you go home and you're like, crap, I don't even feel like fishing?
Dude, it's unbelievable. I make it a point to go to New York or Michigan every year, tournament or not. And even I got a tournament on Oneida. I'm gonna go up to Ontario. I'm gonna have some fun, not sweat to death. We're looking at 110 degrees here where I'm at.
Whew,
And
pass me on that.
yep. And when I come back down, really no point in it. I got my fix when I was up there, and when I go here, I'm like, man, it honestly just sucks here. So, I wish I had a secondary house, on the St. Lawrence River or St. Clair or
Yeah.
something where I could go and spend the summer for sure.
Have you ever fished Buffalo,
I'm
Lake
not.
Erie?
I'm not
Um, a lot of people who go to the St. Lawrence and Lake Ontario and then fish Buffalo are like, wow, I can't believe Buffalo isn't talked about more.
really.
So, yeah, I'm
Yep.
pretty blessed. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I guide full time in Buffalo for
Yep.
smallmouth, and my gosh, is it fun all
Yeah.
year long? Like we're catching 40 to 80 smallmouth over 3 pounds.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
So it's a great time. And
Yep.
Lake Ontario seems to be pulling all the pressure there. And I almost feel bad talking about it because like on any given day in the summertime, you might see 1 to 5 bass boats out
Yeah.
fishing for bass, and our fish are dumb most of the time. So like people stay away, but also come visit me and go on a guided bass trip for
Yep.
smallmouth. So yeah. Well, thank you again, John, for everything tonight. Go get yourself a blue trophy. It's long overdue. We're rooting for you here. And when you do, we'll get you back on. Or
That's
if you don't this year, we'll get you back on again to talk about the
yeah.
opens at the end because this is long overdue. We appreciate you taking the time truly, and safe travels, man.
I appreciate it, Andrew. Thanks for having me,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah, my pleasure. So we'll talk soon. So thanks for everyone for tuning in here. I want to take the time. If you haven't yet and you're new here on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and leave a comment down below. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Remember that this podcast is brought to you by X2 Power. But also, real quick, at the beginning of the show, if you're still listening, I brought up the idea of doing a lure of the week or bait of the week. If that is something that you guys want to see, that segment will be run by yours truly, the captain. And that's something that me and Bailey have been talking about, and Deacon. So if you like that idea, shoot us a message or comment below here on the YouTube channel or on Facebook if that is something you'd like to see. We will definitely be able to do that for you. And then quick side note, if you haven't yet, check out the Business from the Bass Boat episode that came out yesterday. It was a really good one. They were talking with Tanner Lyons about the alternate career path to pro fishing, and I believe he is on the media side. I personally have not had a chance to listen to it. And then on Friday, we are going to have Ryan Hanks, Clint Bartlett, and Joe LaBarbera on to talk about their experience up the St. Lawrence, Lake Ontario, and Lake Erie as Southerners and the first time up here fishing for smallmouth bass in the Great North and the outer realm. So that will be a really fun episode. And we're going to be talking about some baits that were used to catch some giant smallmouth when they were here. So, but for now, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you on Friday.